For more, I'm joined by Chad Sweet. He is the co-founder and CEO of the Chertoff Group and the former chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security during the Bush administration. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
How does Homeland Security change if Markwayne Mullin is in charge instead of Kristi Noem?
I think one of the most important things right now is that it'll bring stability at a time which is critical. If we think about DHS right now is in a leaderless vacuum, and we're asking them to defend the homeland in a tier 1 global crisis. So one of the most important parts of the mission when I was there was being prepared for an event like this, where we tracked, for example, sleeper cells from Iran. I know the department's doing that actively now, and we've already seen, unfortunately, some very close calls with respect to lone wolf attacks as well. So one of the most important things that someone like Secretary Mullin, or I should say Senator Mullin, if he becomes secretary, can bring is that stability in a time of crisis.
Do you think he's the right man for the job?
I do. I think having served, if you look at the department today, it has unfortunately still reporting to over 80 different congressional committees, which is one of the 9/11 Commission recommendations was to streamline that, because it's a tremendous taxing of the department. He will be the first secretary ever to come from Congress. And so I think his 14 years on both the House and Senate side will play an important role in making the department effective with its congressional partners and oversight.
And probably an important role in getting confirmed, because these are a lot of his friends
Absolutely.
and colleagues that are going to be voting for him.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you feel this way, but if you heard the hearings, there was obviously some moments of tension and sparks, but that's to be expected. I do think it is interesting to watch, though, how Senator Mullin has managed to take former folks that were, critics, or even folks that he ended up having confrontations with. An example would be Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters, who we all saw, unfortunately, where they almost got into not only a verbal dispute, but were challenging each other to an actual fight. If you look at the result, though, he managed to work that out, and together, Sean was sitting right behind him in the front row, and I think that's an example of where he is demonstrating his ability to bring any kind of past conflicts to resolution, so he can move forward to be a constructive leader for the department and the nation.
That is quite something, because for people who haven't seen that, it basically looked like a scene out of the WWE, where they were challenging each other to a fight in the middle of a congressional hearing, and Bernie Sanders was the person in between, which is funny in its own right, but that's where
right.
that thing ended.
When you've got Bernie, an 80-year-old plus gentleman trying to keep things calm, that says something.
It's the ref. So let's talk about this shutdown, though, because right now, Democrats and Republicans have not been able to find a way to agree to get the government back open. Is there anything that the new secretary can do on that front? Do you think that gives Democrats any more reason to sort of move on this?
I certainly hope so. If a former Teamster head and a Republican nominee can come together and put things behind them to put national security and Homeland Security first, so can the Congress. And I think if we saw just this week, out of the White House, led by the border czar, Tom Homan, he laid out some new pivots that the administration's prepared to make. And I think the combination of a new head of the department, along with these strategic pivots on the part of the administration, it offers an exciting opening to bring this unfortunate chapter to close. I mean, if we look at it right now, we are seeing potentially the longest partial shutdown in history. We're on day 33 as we speak. The longest one was 35, and we're now getting dangerously close to that. And the strains that it's putting on the nation at a time, again, when DHS is in a leaderless vacuum, to ask them to be in the middle of a tier 1 global conflict is just not acceptable from a risk perspective.
And not fair to all the hard-working men and women who have to do their job every day, including all those TSA agents, and are not getting paid. So let's hope that we come to a resolution for their sake as well. Chad Sweet, thank you so much for joining us from Washington and sharing your views.
My pleasure. Thank you.